Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for finding the time today to listen to today's on-demand webinar. My name is Tulika Dayal Considine, and I go by Tia, and I'm one of the co-founders here at SkySelect. It's a pleasure hosting very special guests today who are joining us from Azul Airlines in Brazil. Azul Airlines doesn't need any introduction. It's one of the most innovative airlines in South America with more than 100 destinations. And I'm very excited to have two very special guests from Azul to talk to us about their experience with the challenges in procurement today and what are the solutions they have for their peers in the market. So for those of you who do not know SkySelect, we are an e-procurement as a service platform for aircraft material, and we help airlines and MROs to digitize and automate material purchasing for more leaner and asset-light operations. And today, the topic of the discussion, we will be talking about the challenges, the day-to-day challenges in the life of procurement and supply chain managers, and exploring new opportunities that can improve the workflow. Together, we will learn how procurement managers can get out of the firefighting mode and start taking a more strategic approach. So before any further ado, I want to welcome our guests today here, Pedro and Victor, and have them introduce themselves to our listeners. Pedro, would you like to go ahead first?
Sure. Well, thank you very much, Tia, for the invitation and for the great introduction. Talking first about Azul. For us, it's really a pleasure. And by myself, I would share that I've been working with Azul for at least 1 year right now. I have been working with aviation for 14 years. So I have worked before with Latam in Chile for 6 years, with the former TAM Airlines in Brazil for also 6 years. So this is basically the route that I got on the aviation, mainly on procurement, but not just procurement, but basically always on this world. And as a Brazilian, a very fan from soccer fan, and this is something that I really like, and I think that is nice to share here with you and with everyone that is listening on this content that we are creating today.
So Brazil is definitely the best soccer team.
This is what I mean. This is what I was willing to emphasize here, but just kidding. I think that the content that we have today here is very important, very key for our industry, and very happy to be here sharing this context with you.
Pleasure having you here. Thank you so much for joining us today. And next, I want to introduce Victor. Victor, would you like to speak a couple of words for yourself?
Hello, for sure. First of all, it's also a very pleasure to be here with you, have this opportunity to share all this moment that we are living and developing in our industry. And by myself, I am together as almost 3 years working on our procurement team with all the purchases for our C checks and for our stock replenishment, and now coordinating our repair management team. In my career, I have already worked at some years together at Avianca Brazil, and another experiences in another industries like the oil industry, the food industry, and now we are here living this very special moment on our aviation supply chain industry.
Thank you so much, Victor. Pleasure having you here. Very excited to have you folks here, and I'm sure our guests will really enjoy listening to the conversations we're going to have on the topics. And we have 4 questions to cover, your experience and your suggestions that you would like to give on procurement scenarios today. So as you know, that procurement and MRO supply chain innovation today is increasingly under pressure. And what we believe that it doesn't have to be that way. So what we want to talk to you about today is how procurement managers can get into a more proactive approach for their aircraft material purchasing. So the 4 questions that we wanted to go for here, let's just jump into right away. And the first question is, what are the market and business conditions that impact procurement managers today on a day-to-day basis? Pedro, would you like to go first?
Sure. No, thank you very much, Tia. I think this is a very interesting matter, and all this discussion, as I said before, from my perspective, very important. And going to this first point, what it came to my mind, it is mostly connected with the world scenario that we are living today. So we have a context that it's very connected with a short period that we have been living, that is related with the pandemic, that is related with the political context that we have on the international affairs. It is also directly connected with the crisis that we are expecting at this minute as a consequence from also the pandemic, but not just the pandemic. The Ukrainian war that we are living and facing at this minute will be impacting us in several different ways for a very long time. And I think that us from procurement, us from supply chain areas, we need to have that on our minds. So we know that this is something that is already happening and something that will be impacting us very strongly. So when I come to this point, what market and business conditions will be impacting us, they will be all of them very connected. So we can already notice very clear all the difficulties and limitation that we have with logistics. We can already see the limitation that we have with labor offer. This is something that we know that is it is very strong right now at US, but not just US. So we see that there are a lot of suppliers from the industry that are suffering with that. The raw materials and the prices from all this chain on the end of the day. So we can see that there are companies and suppliers that are suffering with that, and the whole dynamic from this supply chain context will be affected, will be impacted, and this is what from my perspective we should be having on mind for decisions, for our planning, for future agreements. So this is a reality that we can already consider that will happen for sure, and this will be very strong for the next years, 2023, 24, and aviation specifically will be very impacted as well. And this could be translated for our day-to-day work, because in the end of the day, we know that if the macro scenario has all these issues that I was just emphasizing, in the end of the day, I know that we can feel that, we will be able to feel that on our routine.
Yeah,
You're very,
and
very well said.
Yeah,
Yeah,
connecting with this point that Pedro said for us and described all this engineering that we are facing, it have been impacted every day, our routine here, like uh, our buyers. So considering all this engineering we have on hands now, we are facing a lot of difficulties to handle with it, and we have much more effort to do to get our materials on time, or to attend our demands that we have internally on our company. So in this moment, we have to get our buyers working a lot in follow-ups, more than we were doing some years before, working hard to get all the sourcing on table to choose the better options once we have less materials available on the market. So on day by day of our in the point of view of the buyers, we have a very hard routine when it is compared with we had on hand some years before. So we are working hard and much harder than we were before to get our materials on hands. This is and this in it impacts our routine very hard, in a very hard way.
If you allow me, Victor, just to complement, in other words or summarizing, it is a context, it is a day-to-day work that is much more difficult,
Yeah.
that requires much more efforts that
Mhm.
it was required in a past from 2 or 3 years ago, before all this situation that we have been facing.
yeah, very, very well said. And I can, empathize that this macroeconomics is impacting both the airlines and the suppliers equally. And it is causing a lot of disruptions in the operations, especially as the demand is coming back and we are recovering from COVID. Um, and I can imagine that as these situations are happening, there's a lot of stress and tension within the team members in trying to keep up with all of these situations. So with that, I think it makes a good segue to move to the next question. um, how are you folks looking at solving these challenges? What are the effective ways that you have found to overcome these challenges?
Yeah, the first point that we understand when we understand that we were in the middle of this scenario, we understand that we had to straight our relation with our suppliers. So the first way we got was to plan a good supplier management, establish it in our a company here. So we started to be closer with our supplier, to understand their side, and to make they understand our side, and how we can do a better communication, using the both sides to understand how we can overcome this situation. So in this moment, we have to work together, and to be closer, closer than our supplier. It's the We understand that it was the best way to to go ahead and to have a better support on this time.
Yeah. Pedro, would you like to add to that topic?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think that the point that Victor just took, it's very important. We have been effectively understanding that there is this strong need of being closer to the suppliers,
Mhm.
and having this relationship and the monitoring on a day-to-day basis as well. But I think that another point that from us, we understand that it would be very important for the industry at this minute. It is, well, we can also work in a predictive way, in a more proactive way, and then in the end of the day, in a collaborative way with our suppliers. So when we are talking about procurement, when we are talking about repair management, or all the possible aspects that we have in this world, I think that the key point for to the other side is what is the expectation that you have,
Mhm.
and what is the demand that the needs that you can see. And then the point that I would like to emphasize as a way to work in a more effective relationship with our suppliers
Mhm.
is to invest on this view from data from the forecast that you are willing to see in the future. So sharing that and discussing that with the suppliers and identifying the risks that both parties are already uh, uh, identifying in the end of the day. So uh, as soon as we can say, well, this is a risk for us, so we can have more resource, more energy on that eventual future risk, and already discuss in advance what it could be the strategy that we could be implementing on that problem. And this
Mhm.
is something that usually on procurement from different industries, even I could say that is not so frequent in the relationship, but it could be a deal breaker here,
Mhm.
considering all the challenges that we are expecting.
Yeah, and basically, you're saying that today the procurement managers should be emphasizing a lot on supply development, supply performance mapping, and seeing where to negotiate more closer relationships, and maybe even looking at suppliers that need to be replaced or broaden the horizon to be able to work with more suppliers. Um, the so I can imagine that there's a lot of time being spent in evaluating your supplier pool today, and regrouping them into prioritization. So does can digitization help with this objective, this major emphasis that you are having in supplier relationship management and performance management? How is digitization helping your procurement operation?
No, that's very true, Tia. And just just concluding part of the last point, I think that this is the point, like how we put the energy on the correct need, and how we can manage better that kind of relationship with our counterparts, even internally or externally, to make sure that the supply chain itself can work properly, and the core business from aviation or from other industries can work as we need, as we are expecting. That means, as we usually say here, to get the drinks arriving where they are supposed to. So this is the plan. This is why we are working here in the end of the day. But going to this idea on how we can get this help to procurement operation, um, I would say that we can have a lot of benefits from this kind of transformation, this kind of different management from our day-to-day routine. So when we have digitization ongoing on our company, we can identify better where are the opportunities for savings, where are the opportunities for on-time performance management. So we can identify better how we can be monitoring the whole chain properly. So
Mhm.
there is a world of opportunities on this point, as soon as we can um, get the benefits from this change that we are living, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in this point, we understand a lot of opportunities that we have when we get the data in a better way that we were using before. So we can have now using this data correctly. We can have our dashboards helping us to identify these opportunities, and you can see it more clearly, understand what is our cost savings opportunities that we have on hand, how can we improve our on-time performance. So using this data in a better way, can help us to identify clearly and opportunities that we were not seeing before. And this is the good way to use our data. That it's information that we have already on our hands, but we are not using this information in the better way possible to extract all the opportunities we have on it.
Yeah, eventually, this point that Victor is taking, it is what we can translate from the supply chain management. So in the end of the day, we believe, Tia, that it's always how we can administrate this universe of numbers that we have in front of us.
Yeah.
So I was saying about cost havens or on-time performance, and what Victor took, it's like, well, the data. So how we can have this data, how we can have these numbers working for us, and not having us running and trying to catch those numbers and organize those numbers. How we can have this helping us and not generating more problems or more work for us.
Right. Right. So the right insights are basically very important for your
Yeah.
team. And along with that, empowering the team with insights and reducing the amount of manual work could be, the some of the advantages that we see that can help in this scenario. Well, Azul has always been very innovative, and especially, it has always embraced a lot of digitization. So a very impressive airline, overall. And Sky Select has always, been very excited to collaborate and partner with Azul. So it's been a very fun journey, and it's been great to hear how you guys embrace digitization to your advantage and to improve your operations. But while we're talking on the digitization topic, would be also great to see how can buyers become more strategic and less reactive. Are there suggestions that you have for the buyers in your team, and also buyers in other organizations? How can they potentially use technology or even have processes that can help them be more strategic?
Yeah, the context here in the end of the day, like you said, is to understand that our buyers have to be working to add value for our supply chain. And add value for our supply chain is have our buyers doing things that robots cannot do. So we need to have our buyers doing like the face-to-face, going closer for our suppliers, and then find these opportunities that are on the numbers, like we said on the last question. And this is opportunity that all us like buyers can do. So this add value is the most important things, and we have to develop it and to understand how our members here can do it. This is the most important point, right? And better you can say like we are discussing this opportunity that we have on hand.
No, that's very true. The digitization here, it is the key for on this change on the mindset It's very clear, and this is something that we have very strong on our culture to make sure that we are doing this job that robots, as you just said, Victor, are not able to do, and to add value on the relationship. And doing a link with we talked before, our perspective is much more about, well, how we can be a company working much more in a collaborative way, how we can be finding solution together, and how we can have the people working more on this aspect and not just in this kind of manual work, that we can find solutions for them. So in the end of the day, the idea here is to find some ways to use all this data that we are developing resources and tools to be more organized and to be available, so we can use that as part of our commercial interaction, as part of our planning as well. So the point that I would add here, it's basically, okay, so we are going through this way that we have less manual work, but also to use all this info that right now we have on the table to uh, be more assertive on this relationship and on this collaborative way or of working. And as soon as we have the, the time to do that, and as soon as we have the people with this space to be thinking on that and to be developing this kind of action, we believe that we would be more successful on our mission here, that, as we said before, it won't be easy considering all the challenges that we have already identified.
Yeah, no, and really good points here. And what I really appreciate is that as leaders of repair and purchasing, Pedro and Victor, you guys have the vision to help your buyers become more strategic so that they are not lost in doing manual repetitive work, which is not giving them time to think strategically, which is not giving them time to be creative and be innovative on how they can contribute to a Zoll, which is really a job of a leader to empower their team members to keep growing in their career and keep seeing how they can build more strategic skills themselves and also for the company. So I really have to compliment you guys for having that vision for your team and also suggesting other managers at other airlines to think, in those perspective for their buyers. Thank you so much, Victor and Pedro. If you have any, final thoughts on these, topics, would love to hear. But essentially, we have covered, all the 4 topics we had on hand.
No, thank you, Tia, and all the Sky Select team that have been supporting us on this webinar, but on all this way that we have been working together. And for everyone that has the opportunity to hear and to watch this content that we are uh, generating today. The final message that I would say, it's basically, let's try to find the resources, or let's find the resources to do this work, uh, understanding that there is a chain behind us, and as far as we can go to this direction of being collaborative, being uh, uh, focusing on the value, on the relationship, we will be overcoming this world crisis better than if not. So this is basically what I would like to say and emphasize. And also, again, thank you for everyone for your attention and time.
For sure, I also would like to appreciate a lot. We understand. I think that one important message is that we are working in a very challenging industry in a very challenging moment, and to go ahead with all this scenario exposed, that we need to be supporting each other. So to have have a space like this one to share what we are thinking now, and to share our possibilities, our opportunities, and how we can go ahead with our industry. It's a very important method to go ahead to pursue this way. And this is, we appreciate a lot to have this opportunity to be sharing all those ideas that we are working on here.
Thank you so much, Pedro and Victor, for answering all the questions and sharing such great insights. It was a pleasure having you folks, and I really enjoyed the conversations today. And I hope that everyone listening to this webinar would, gain some knowledge that they can use in their own personal workspace and with their colleagues. So again, thank you so much for taking out the time. For our viewers and listeners here, if you want to get in touch with our guests today, Victor and Pedro, please feel free to reach out to them on LinkedIn. They have promised that they will be responsive there, so you can share ideas and discuss ideas with them there. And as for myself, I would love to connect with anyone who would like to talk a little bit more about what we are doing here at SkySelect and how we are helping airlines and MROs get more leaner and efficient with their material purchasing. And we have a lot of ideas and stories to share. So please reach out to me on LinkedIn as well, and I will be happy to chat. Again, thank you so much, everyone, for listening. And Pedro, Victor, pleasure talking to you again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care,
Bye
everyone.
bye.
Bye-bye.